We are live July 8th, 2021, ahead of UFC 264, Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. And I'm Kevin.
I'm Andrew.
And we're here to give you the lowdown on some of these lesser-known fighters that you might not know on this card. I know a lot of people will probably be tuning in for the first time, so I think there are a lot of exciting things besides the big names. And we watch a lot of fighting. We know you might not have the time to or the resources to, and we wanted to let you know all the juicy little things packed into this card.
Right, and if you like what you hear, keep tuning in every single week for new episodes.
Alright, so kicking off our discussion here, we're starting with the very first bout on the card. And we have Yao Zhang versus Alan Amadovsky at middleweight. A first for Yao Zhang. He had his first two bouts at heavier weights, one at light heavyweight and one at heavyweight. But remarkably, he lost both in a very similar fashion to Amadovsky. So I'm curious to see what it brings. They were each mauled once on the ground, and they each lost on the feet once. So, I'm curious to see what the two of these guys bring to the table.
I think it might be a bit grim to say this, but I feel like they might not have a super long future in the UFC. Especially cutting all that weight too. I feel like if you start at a weight class and you have to cut 2 down, that's especially the cut from heavyweight.
Oh, definitely. I'm very intrigued to see how Yao Zhang's cardio holds up in this one. He did look to have better cardio in his second fight. So I don't know. I'm intrigued. I think there could be some fireworks in this one, and both of these guys, their jobs might be on the line, so a little bit of extra pressure. It's gonna be a mauling either way. That's my prediction. So.
And I think in one of the ones I watched, Yao Zhang just had an absolute godly chin. He took like,
yes,
I don't know, 100 something, and that was.
And they were heavy shots. Yeah. They were very heavy shots.
Yeah, no. I think he got dropped once, but after that he was like the Korean Zombie. He was pretty.
I second it.
Yeah.
So I think whatever happens, you're gonna see some fist on chins in that one for sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right, next up we have Brad Tavares versus Omar Akhmedov. Brad Tavares, typical Hawaiian, got a big heart. He can take a lot of shots. He's been in the UFC for 8 years, I think. He's a bit of a journeyman, but he has a lot of promise. He likes to throw a lot of heavy leg kicks.
I agree, yeah. I mean, both of these guys, veterans, heavy hands, they can take a punch. I think Akhmedov, he has some pretty remarkable grappling, but on the other hand, Tavares has exceptional takedown defense. In his last fight, he defended, I think it was 10 out of 11 takedowns. So yeah. There could be a story there, or they might just throw heavy hands, which
maybe
I don't think that either of us would complain about.
I think Akhmedov, his striking is really not great. I think it needs to be developed a lot more, but some of his wrestling and his scrambling ability is really good. But I don't think his submission game is super strong to the point where it's finishing fights every time.
A huge threat.
So I think that could be sort of a problem.
Yeah.
And the next one we have Zhumagulov versus Jerome Rivera. I feel like Zhumagulov, his striking also needs to develop a lot more. He fought Paiva, and I think his reach was a big sort of issue in that one.
I agree. They similar style to Akhmedov. The heavy hands, both of them, and they'll throw anything, but in terms of the accuracy, the setup, sometimes leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, and I think Zhumagulov is he's just super explosive, just like ducking under punches, the wrestling. I remember there was one time in the Paiva fight where he had Paiva backed up against the fence, and he went for like a high knee or something, and you could see as soon as the knee came up, he just level changed and straight to the ankle pick, which I thought that was super impressive. So.
I think this is going to be a fun one. I think both of these guys, they had a bit of a tough start. I think Rivera's dropped 3 now, and Zhumagulov is 2.
Yeah.
2 in a row. But I do think that they're better than that, and I think they will put on a show. Both guys they're down to scrap. Especially Zhumagulov. I think he's going to be throwing hands the whole time, and I'm not sure how Rivera's going to cope with it. So fireworks. And then next we have up Ilia Topuria and Ryan Hall. I'm sure much of our audience is familiar with the Wizard himself, back after a very long layoff. But at the same time, he's coming in a heavy underdog to this one, and I think for good reason. I think Topuria, he has strong wrestling, crispy striking. Ryan Hall, he's gonna have his hands full.
Yeah, I definitely think Topuria has those sort of heavy dynamite hands that just, they don't land a lot really, and sometimes it can get really sloppy. But I think if he connects, it could definitely be a problem.
Power, he has power for sure. And I think I disagree a tad. I haven't found too much of an issue with his accuracy, and I think if he's able to keep it on the feet with Ryan Hall, I think he will land on him. And that's gonna be tough. Ryan Hall's, he's gonna have his hands full for sure. And not to mention that Topuria, he's a very competent grappler himself. So if it goes there, then I do think Ryan Hall has the advantage. But people might be surprised. People might be surprised if he's not just steamrolled. So.
All right, next up we move to Max Griffin versus Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit, obviously, veteran.
A legend.
Yeah, everyone knows him. And Max Griffin, he's been around for quite a long time. I think he's had like 18 professional fights. I feel like he's sort of a gatekeeper for a lot of people.
He's been having a lot of trouble putting it together. Both he and Condit went through pretty large losing streaks around the same time.
I feel like Carlos Condit's sort of an all-around guy. I feel like Griffin's pretty equipped to deal with that though. He has really nice boxing. I think just his movement and his circling ability is just some of the best I've seen. And just his distance management, it's almost like Wonder Boy. It's really amazing to watch, and he's super long.
That's true. And then coming up after that is Trevin Giles and Dricus du Plessis. I'm quite excited for this one. I know the UFC was putting out some highlights on du Plessis. He had that crazy knockout earlier. I think it was last year actually. But people shouldn't sleep on Giles in any type of way. He's a very scrappy guy. He's not the fastest. He doesn't have the heaviest of hands. But he does, he'll stay in there all 3 rounds, and he grows in strength as the fight goes on for sure. He's a fighter, he in the Krause fight, James Krause was coming in short notice, and he came in with the plan, I'm just gonna go all out in the first round, grapple this guy, and he was on Giles' back the entire time. And Giles fought through it, he defended it, and then came back, and by the end he was piecing him up. And Krause was barely able to stay in there. So I think we're in for a scrap. If you think that du Plessis is going to put him away early, you might be right. But if he doesn't, he's going to catch some hands late from Giles.
I actually do think that, maybe he doesn't land a lot, but I think he actually has really heavy hands. Like when you see him throw, it looks like a Tyron Woodley punch, just big looping punches. And I was really impressed with his submission defense, like you said. James Krause on his back the whole time, and almost sunk in the rear naked a couple times.
So many times, yeah.
Really impressive,
yeah.
Just keep shaking him off, and I think he sort of turned out of that body triangle one time, and that was really impressive. So
definitely,
that should be a good one. All right, so the next one we have Irene Aldana versus Yana Kunitskaya. Both women are super long. I think Yana is like 5'10", something like that. Super long reach. She fights really long. Same with Aldana. I think Aldana has just some of the nicest and crispiest boxing I've seen.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think both of the women, they use their length extremely well. They have the right frame, and they employ the weapons, long kicks, Aldana with the jab, and her straight punches.
Yeah, I think Yana will probably try and get that to the ground. She'll probably, just because she's so big for that division. I could see her fighting at featherweight or something like that, just because she is so huge, and the wrestling on the fence is, it's a huge weapon for her.
I agree. Aldana's going to have to stay off the cage the entire time, which I think she is capable of, but it's going to be a 15-minute struggle for that if that's how long the match lasts. So, yeah, I do agree that she will try to put her on the cage and, kick her there and jab her there. So this one's gonna be range management. And next up we have a good old fashioned slobber knocker, like the fans wanted to see. I know a lot of fans have been calling for this one. We have Tai Tuivasa against Greg Hardy, two big boys who like to throw hands and take hands. Frankly, I don't think either one of them is shy to take a punch, especially Tai.
Yeah.
That guy, he has absorbed some heavy damage. I think his arsenal is a little bit bigger than Greg Hardy's. Greg Hardy, he's primarily, he has hands, and he does have heavy hands. But I don't know how far that's gonna get him against Tai, who's, as I said, got a granite chin. He'll throw back, you know, he'll take one to throw one. He'll take two to throw one. And Tai also has some extremely heavy leg kicks.
Yeah, they're definitely some huge hitters, and you know, we were talking about this a little bit before, but I think that would be super interesting if it went to the ground. Both Hardy and Tuivasa just recently got absolutely exposed on the ground by Sergey Spivak and Marcin Tybura. But that's not what the fans want to see, so, you know.
I mean, I would be down for some heavyweight ground and pound mauling. I think I don't expect that of them, but I do think that if that's what they show, I'll be extremely impressed. And I think that would almost show that they're ready to take it to the next level. You know, that they're not just a stand and bang guy. I hope we get a little bit of that. But if they do decide to take them down, lie on them, smother them, and then beat them up for however long it takes to get them out of there, then I'm not complaining about that either.
And that's true, because Tai Tuivasa, for, you know, multiple times has been on the brink of breaking into that top 15. I think he was ranked at one point.
Yeah.
You know, Greg Hardy, same thing. He's been up there sometimes. So I feel like this could definitely be somewhat of a breakout moment for them.
He has. Greg Hardy, he was definitely set back by that last one. He was on a streak, and I think people like to watch him. You know, people like to watch him win or lose. Say what you will about the guy, but he does put on entertaining fights. So whether he produces a knockout or he gets knocked out, I'm here for it.
All right, finally we have my personal Sorry.
He's so excited he can barely get the words out.
Yes, finally we have my personal favorite fighter, Sean O'Malley, versus Chris Moutinho. Now, a lot of people don't like O'Malley, you know, too flashy. I gotta say, for any of you that saw his last fight, it was pretty stupid, man. He almost finished the guy twice.
I was mad at you because you told me that, you know, he was worth a bet, and he almost didn't finish that fight. I was ready to be mad at him, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, you can't complain about that performance.
And if you didn't see the brutal knockout, you might not want to watch it, but if you do, it's there, probably anywhere. 2 knockdowns in the final one. He just came over with that huge jackhammer, and it was pretty brutal.
It was extremely brutal.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch. It made you wish that they had called the first walk-off.
Yes,
so,
definitely.
Respect to him.
But then again, for the haters, you know, he didn't get his walk-off like he wanted, so...
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
And moving on to Chris Moutinho, he has never actually had a fight in the UFC before, but we did watch some of his previous fights, and they were absolute bangers. He was standing there, trading. He has a pretty darn good chin, you know? He got knocked down
a
couple times,
he does.
But he got straight back up. And one thing I noticed about him, his recovery speed is really nice.
It is.
You know?
He scrambles back up. I think that will be the narrative of this fight. Sadly for him. And I am a hater, so I will be pleased if it does go another way. But to see how much his chin can take, because O'Malley's going to crack him. Moutinho, I think the only thing he knows how to do is stand and bang. And so he's definitely going to be eating those hard, straight right hands, left hands, kicks to the face. I mean, it's going to be brutality.
But then again, the one thing Sean O'Malley is not really comfortable doing is standing and banging, you know? Just standing there. So if it somehow, you know, leg malfunction, something like that, gets against the cage, you know, not moving too much.
Yeah.
We could see, you know, a miracle knockout here, or something crazy.
I'm telling you, fingers crossed for me.
Yes.
We'll see. We'll have to see. And that about wraps it up for this week, so I hope you enjoyed the segment, and tune into the card. I think the UFC matchmakers, I think they did a really good job this week. A lot of similar narratives, guys in similar situations. It's going to be who's better, who wants it more.
All right, well, we will see you next time.